Meteorologist Mike Prangley, the most accurate forecast here on the First Coast, Jacksonville, Florida, WTLV, WJXX, and we love streaming with you. Hey, we've been going through the night. In fact, as we got in this morning, watching the tropics really lighting up. You know, we were talking about double trouble yesterday in the tropics. Our weather team's been saying all week long, we could have this rare thing that we don't see too often in the Atlantic, where we've got a tango, a tropical tango, where you get more than two storms that are within, usually two cyclones within 800, 900 miles. That proximity gives it a Fujiwara effect, where these systems literally do a tango. And if you look at the tropical update, this is as the 11 a.m. update is just in. And as we take a look, we still have Humberto, officially a tropical storm, okay? And if I'm looking at this here, it does look like Humberto is still expected to become a major hurricane as we head into the weekend. What makes these two different, look how much closer it is to the United States, okay? So we've got Humberto that'll be near Bermuda and just to the west of Bermuda as a Category 3. All right, keep that in mind by the weekend and especially early next week. And then at the same time, you have another hatched area. Yeah, that red hatched area. That's an area of development we're watching. National Hurricane Center, as of the latest, as of the 11 a.m. advisory, and of course this is all updating, we're talking about a 90% chance of development now. So I'm still thinking the development on this will be a little slower. I think as we look at when this could be a tropical depression, tropical wave, I'm looking at some of the latest data here. We're talking about the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, as we go into Saturday. I think that'd be the day where this could possibly ramp up. But right now, it's actually being impacted by Humberto. Okay, so when we talk about Fujiwara effect, it's when you've got two named cyclones. And I do think this will get a name called Imelda, probably not happening into the weekend. But the outflow from Humberto is affecting the flow. These things need calm, high pressure aloft in the upper levels to really breathe, so to speak, to really develop those thunderstorms around an area of center of low pressure and around that circulation that really starts to come together. But you need the calm. And when you're pretty close to another developing system that's going to be a major hurricane, that can have big impacts. So Fujiwara effect, just think of two cyclones that kind of do a little dance that impact each other in the way they act, their strength, and their path. And eventually what ends up happening here is we like looking at which hurricane is dominant. So one of the big questions I get out when we do the Rotary talks here in schools, a lot of kids say, what happens when you get two hurricanes that collide together? And I have to explain, they never really merge or collide together, right? You have a one dominant system. So in the studio on GMJ this morning, I actually did a little dance, a little tango. I said, you got the lead dancer, okay, and you've got the secondary dancer. And right now, Humberto is taking the lead. So as we watch this evolve over the next 1 to 2 days, the question is, will Humberto steal all of the thunder from Imelda that's trying to form here? That would be a great best case scenario here. And if that happens, we would keep that second wave much weaker. And that's what we want at this point. And as we go full screen here, you can see in the tropics, if you're just joining us, we're streaming live here from Jacksonville, Florida. WTLV, the most accurate forecast on the First Coast. And updating, yes, tropical double trouble is what we've been calling, a little tango Fujiwara effect that's happening between Humberto and a developing, a wave, a tropical wave that's going to try to develop here over the next 1 to 2 days, especially by late Friday, especially Saturday, I think. But right now, we're just watching things closely. And then once we get an idea of where Imelda exactly forms, and again, it's being impacted by Humberto's outflow, we'll have a better grasp on the actual track, because the models right now, even though they're going back and forth, there's a lot of disagreement. So still high uncertainty as to the eventual outcome. But as a meteorologist, so what do we do as a meteorologist? So you have folks at home, you know, I've got the family at the dinner table that say, well, we got these spaghetti models, and what's going to happen? We got some coming to Florida. We got some going west. We got some going to the Gulf. We got some going to Bermuda. But we like looking at the overall pattern, okay? We like looking at the steering currents. We like looking at what's happening at the 500 and 700 millibar levels. And everything is still in place where we would see the main impact stay to the east of Florida. That's the key here. Okay, so we're still looking for possible coastal impacts, rough seas, rough rip currents, tides, elevated tides, things like that. So as we look at this latest here, our tropical headlines, I haven't changed them, okay? You may see those spaghetti models going back and forth, but we don't windshield wipe here. here on the First Coast at WTLV, not at First Coast News. So you got main impacts east of the First Coast Sunday through Tuesday. But with that said, we're smart here in Florida. We know we need to check back a couple times a day in this situation. We've got two big systems developing. Things can change in a hurry. So we keep our guard up. All right. So for now, we're keeping the main impacts east of the First Coast. Still feel confident Sunday through Tuesday. Rough season surf, dangerous rip currents would be the main factors that we're looking at. And then if you look at the third column, this is the most important. We're just going to be checking in with you, right? We're checking in with you here with the latest on streaming, keeping you up to date around the clock. There we go. Frequent updates on First Coast News Plus. In fact, this weekend, I'm definitely coming in, okay? And we'll actually do a show with our friends in Tampa, all right? So James Hopkins likely with me. Looking forward to that. That's 11 a.m. on Sunday. So let's take a look at what's going on. I love my movies. I call them my satellite pictures. So, big thing is you've got these two big areas of thunderstorms really firing up in the tropics. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? You take a look at Humberto there, and then near San Juan, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, we also have another area of thunderstorms that seems to be pretty healthy, okay? So that's a pretty robust development there. And that would indicate the models are doing a good job with what's happening right now. They are showing that we would eventually get another tropical storm, at least tropical storm Imelda as we go into the next 24 to 36 hours. So you can see the thunderstorms there. Still waiting on that circulation and organization to get together, not really seeing that in the Dominican Republic. So that's why I think more of a slow development, and also some of the circulation around what is our tropical storm of Humberto is affecting it as well. But you can see Humberto, a much better organized system. You can really see that spin clearly out there in the open Atlantic as it starts to move to the west-northwest. Hurricane hunters, of course, are checking this out. In Jacksonville, the airport, and up and down the East Coast, they're not doing one but two balloon launches. So the better data we have, the better forecast. Good data in, great data out is what I say. So we're getting a lot of help from the hurricane hunters right now, checking out the system, especially the developing one, that second wave that has a 90% chance of developing into what will be Imelda, at least a tropical storm as we head into the weekend. And then there's Humberto. It continues to do as expected. So latest track, this just came in. We got the 11 a.m. update. There it is, Malcolm. So no surprises here. Winds of 50 miles per hour, moving northwest at 8. And there it is, major hurricane. So think of these two forces of nature, the most powerful storms on Earth. The question is, which one will win out as far as the dominant one? I still think it would be the one that's closer to Bermuda, which is good. We want the dominant one to be farther east, away from us here at home, right? So that should help us. But with that said, it still looks like as these two things do a little tango in the Atlantic, if Imelda does get started, we are going to have to watch things very closely. We already are, but our friends in the Carolinas, the big change we've seen really over the last 12 to 18 hours, I'd say, more of a threat, not so much to Florida, but maybe toward the Carolinas if Imelda does hold together. Okay, we got to see how it interacts with Humberto. But notice Humberto, everything's pretty good consensus with that. But by the time you get to the far left, look at what could be Imelda. Just that really, they call it spaghetti models, and this really looks like spaghetti, but it's kind of like spaghetti that's that you've been picking at on your dinner plate. I mean, it's all over the place. You got all the squiggly lines, and that's an indication that we really need to wait and really need to keep checking back to see exactly where Imelda forms and what Humberto is going to do with it. But if Humberto is going to be a major hurricane, and if I look at the history of these Fujiwara effects in the Atlantic, Humberto should steal a lot of the thunder of 94L. Okay, so keep that in mind. We take a look at the forecast models now for 94L, and I'm still confident. I don't want to. We got to check, be diligent, keep checking back. Everything's still on the table, but I still think east of Florida. It's not really wiggling farther west. There's just a big front coming our way. So whenever you get this front. We compared it to Tony Baselli, a Hall of Fame offensive lineman from the Jaguars. It's a big blocking offensive lineman, just blocking all of that tropical trouble away. Okay, so let Humberto and Imelda have their little drama in the Atlantic to see which one wins out. But for us, not as much drama when you got this big beastly front coming through, just keeping all that action just off Florida. But look what happens though. That same front, as it stalls east of us into the Carolinas, won't be enough to really knock it out to sea, according to some of the latest models. In fact, it looks like we really have to watch the Carolinas very, very closely, as that could be a change we see where it could possibly move toward land areas. And that's for our friends like Charleston, watching areas of Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, and up to Cape Hatteras. So the latest trends, not our friends for the Carolinas. Everything's still on track here in Florida. We're keeping the big impacts mainly out at sea. We look at some of the latest model in-house data. You can see the big swirl with what could be Imelda. And again, I'm thinking Saturday if there's development. And you can see there's the bigger system. Look at that big eye with Humberto just off to its east. And you can see it moving to the north on Sunday. And this is what caught my attention this morning around 3 a.m., 2:30 a.m. when I got in. You could see the two systems. You don't always see that, huh? And then you've got the big change where if Imelda does develop and hold together and is not gobbled up, so to speak, by Humberto, could head to the Carolinas. Hopefully it's a much weaker system. The history of these Fujiwara systems, again, usually you would have a dominant one. So hopefully that would weaken the outflow and the energy. So think of it as two campfires. You only have so much oxygen and heat to work with one campfire. It kind of snuffs out the other one. So with these tropical systems, they have a lot of inflow and outflow, okay? Inflow, outflow, they breathe in and out, so to speak. And if you're getting that flow disrupted and you have another system that's within 800-900 miles, that does have a big bearing on the second wave, especially if you've got a powerful Category 3. So again, watching that interaction and the Fujiwara effect very closely. Here's just another look. There's our Bermuda high. We said the overall pattern hasn't changed and still looking like we've got that front coming over Florida, and there's your swing out to sea. And that Euro really kind of shows how dominant Humberto would be in this relationship. It's not a symbiotic relationship, okay, as we were talking about in the studio this morning. It's like two dancers, but one dancer really doing his own thing. Okay, and we want that to be Humberto, so we'll keep the positive vibes going, even not just for us, but our friends in the Carolinas. We'll see how that all works out. And then as we go into next week, okay, that's next weekend, totally different pattern. I mean, we've got high pressure building into the northeast. This is the pattern where if you get any development to the south, it would just head west. Okay, instead of the recurvature we've seen, and these storms that continue to develop and then recurve out to sea for the most part, the pattern will change as we head toward October 5th. So that's just something to keep in mind. We're not going to have that recurvature, it looks like. And as I've told my family at the dinner table, I think we've been very lucky so far this season with all these fish storms, Atlantic storms. But unfortunately, once we get to the first week of October, the whole thing changes. And that's what happens this time of year. You'll get change, and that's why we check in. Water temperatures, don't like to see this. I'm watching the Caribbean and the Gulf, and really, my big blob, if I had a big hatchling to do today, and I know we're focused on one storm at a time, and what's going to happen, as we go into late weekend and early next week. But I still have that where you see the deep pinks and the purples, the 86, 87 degree water temperatures. Okay, that's the area that I'm focusing in on because that could be a bigger threat to us here in Florida. Okay, that's a lot of tropical heat content that is yet to be released, yet to be tapped, and we got to be ready. Okay, we just got to stay prepared. Just some more of the latest model data here. Continue to watch the two systems. I do know this state's just for me personally, 1 year ago I was in Tampa, and we had Hurricane Helene. And Hurricane Helene, I know we think of Asheville and the 20-foot storm surge in the wall of water. Well, there were folks in Tampa, when I was the meteorologist there, that had never seen water as high as they did during Helene. So that was 1 year ago today. And we have something to show you here on the 1 year anniversary as to the big impacts that Helene had on the southeast, including Tampa, Florida, and all the way up into the Carolinas and much of the country. And just another reason why we need to stay prepared.
Hurricane Helene. It's been a year since this major storm made landfall in Florida and then went on to become the deadliest hurricane in the United States since Katrina in 2005. 252 lives were lost from this storm, with $79 billion in damages. Despite the storm passing east of Jacksonville, it still brought a swath of damage to the First Coast. Hurricane-strength winds were seen across the Big Bend area, stretching north past Live Oak, Lake City, and into Waycross. Now, Helene first developed on the 22nd of September, but it was not until the 25th and 26th, just prior to landfall, when it rapidly intensified to a Category 4 storm on track for a landfall along the Big Bend area. The storm made landfall near Perry, Florida. These images, actually just south of Perry, show a whole wide swath of trees flattened due to those hurricane-strength winds. The right front quadrant just prior to landfall also pushed in a record-breaking storm surge for Tampa and the surrounding areas near St. The eye wall of this storm then raced towards the north, passing through Live Oak, where some historic buildings were damaged. And widespread downed trees were also reported near Lake City and eventually into Waycross. As far as the first coast, Waycross was one of the hardest hit areas. Hundreds of trees were down throughout this city and all of Ware County for that matter. Almost the entire town lost power, and in some cases, it would be weeks for it to be totally restored. The storm's recovery there was slow, with schools being closed for nearly a month after Hurricane Helene. And after racing past the first coast, Helene was far from over. As it moved over the mountains of the Carolinas, it dropped a staggering amount of rainfall. Some areas received 30 inches of rain, causing catastrophic flooding. Over 100 fatalities were reported in the Carolinas, where some towns were completely destroyed. Hurricane Helene was officially retired by the World Meteorological Agency due to its extensive destruction and loss of life. And now we look back on this storm 1 year later. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta, First Coast News, on your side.
Wow, quite a look back at Hurricane Helene. You know, we evacuated our TV station at 10 Tampa Bay. Folks that had never seen water in place, they've just never seen water that high. And, you know, it was a once-in-a-lifetime storm, not just for Asheville and the Carolinas, but all the way to Tampa. So as we go into the season, still thinking of those recovering and still thinking of how important it is to prepare and stay vigilant. And when you're told to evacuate, you always heed the warnings, no matter what you've experienced in these past storms, okay? Every storm is different. Now, speaking of storms, let's go back to Weather Computer 2. I put together some history of Fujiwara effect. And you see Iris and Humberto, and it's going kind of quick. And then we've had Philippe and Rena, pretty amazing there in the tropics. So what we've noted, again, and we're watching Humberto and what'll be Imelda trying to form, there's always been a dominant system. So in this case, Philippe, all right, was our dominant system. But these were just tropical storms, okay? And what it did is it stole Rena's thunder. That's what I want to see with this Humberto and Imelda thing, right? So Philippe lived a long time. I believe it had a two-week lifespan. And Rena didn't really do too well. Never heard from again once Philippe really engulfed all of that energy in its center. As we look here at home, we're watching the interactions. And look where most of your isobars are. They're with Humberto. And then you've got the weaker system, possibly tropical storm as we head into Monday, that's off Jacksonville just to the east and moving to the north. But look at the wind shear. Look at the front that's over us, really protecting Florida, really steering it, that trough really steering it north if we get that wave that survives, okay, the outflow from Humberto to the north. So again, high confidence hurricane Florida, but that northward steering current along the front and that trough could bring it up into the Carolinas. So again, that's been the trend, and we'll continue to watch it. But a lot of wind shear with this system. It's not like we're going to get this big Cat 3, Cat 4 rapid intensification just all of a sudden change direction and come right toward us, okay? Things can still change on the track, but we're not looking for anything like that here at home, okay? So just watching things carefully. There's our wind shear forecast here on the Euro. And as we look at the latest Euro, look for the orange here. So you got the two systems. You got Humberto to the right, okay, to the east, and possibly our next tropical system, Imelda, right over the Bahamas. That'd be Sunday at 8 o'clock. And watch what happens. We'll keep this moving. And it does look like what does form stays again, giving us those coastal impacts, rough seas, surf, rip currents, and then moving up to the north, more toward the Carolinas, that tropical wave with the dominant system still Humberto to the east. Okay, so again, we look at these models, they're all coming in. We look at the spaghetti models, the ensembles. We'll just keep these moving here. And as we look at the very latest from the American and the Euro, they are coming into better agreement that, again, we're keeping that activity really offshore Florida and then moving more to the north. But if you look at this picture, we get toward Wednesday, it certainly looks like Humberto is the dominant one in this little Fujiwara dance, doesn't it? And then as we go into next week, there's all that green to the north. That's high pressure building in, and that's the big change in the pattern that we're going to see that's going to kind of block, if we get any tropical systems, really blocking it and locking it in for areas like us and farther south that we really have to watch things carefully, especially with that change in the pattern. We take a look at our tropical wave invest. Here are all those spaghetti models. I added a few more. Okay, so I gave you the Hurricane Center models. These are some special models called the GFS ensembles and the Euro ensembles. This is really the GFS that's come in better agreement with the American, with the Euro model. So you got the American and the Euro there, but this is showing again, very latest information showing that possibly we could have that second tropical storm if it does develop heading toward the Carolinas. Let's get back to home. You ready for your forecast? Okay, so just keep checking back. Let's get to it. Today, Jacksonville, it's going to be hot. We've got playoff baseball, and if you're coming downtown, that's the time to do it. Okay, we said you get those steps and runs in early, looking much better in the evening, near record highs of 94. It should be 96 is the record set in 2019. We should be in the middle 80s, not even close. Now, even at the beaches, it's going to be near 90. Pretty impressive with that late day sea breeze. So St. Augustine up to Sawgrass. You can see you go inland, 94 Waycross, Jacksonville, 92 Jacksonville Naval Air Station. And then you factor in the humidity. Yeah, you guessed it, right up near 100 degrees. And so for the kids getting out of school, make sure they have a cool ride home. And also I worry about all the after-school sports. The kids have the football practices. They put on the pads. They're going to have to take some breaks on a day like today for sure. But we will have something different, a few cooling storms. So I put in the timing for you. We got that stronger Gulf Coast sea breeze, a dominant sea breeze out of the west. So if we get the storms to fire, they've been west all week. They're going to actually be right over us here in Jacksonville, the I-95 corridor. So be careful on JTB, I-95, Phillips Highway, I-95, and crossing the St. Johns across the Buckman to Highway 17. We could have a quick round of storms. Notice inland, very isolated toward Keystone Heights, Clay County over to Baker County, McClenny. And then as we put it into motion, we're going to see the better activity where the sea breezes come together, again, as we head closer to Jacksonville, the downtown area, the south side, Mandarin, heading back into St. John's, over to Creekside High School, Torquay High School. Kids getting out of school will be okay, but really this evening, right around 5, 6 o'clock, I'm more concerned about folks driving home from work and that evening commute. We could have about an hour of some downpours and some lightning across the area, but things will quickly die down. They'll settle down, and I do think we'll have a great night here in Jacksonville for baseball. We've got the jumbo shrimp, as I was talking about. I loved running across the street talking baseball during Good Morning Jacksonville, and we said there'd be plenty of home runs and plenty of good weather, and we see that. Now, Friday, tomorrow's our big TGIF. We got to be aware that they're going to have a more organized line of storms because that beast of a front that's protecting us, okay, from the tropics will start to move closer. And as that happens, we'll have more of an organized line of showers and storms that could be stronger. Notice that toward Clinch County, Ware County, back into Columbia County, across city, watching that organized line really taking shape as we head into early afternoon. So by lunchtime out toward Lake City, then toward the west side, Hilliard, Callahan, Folkestone, moving up toward areas of western areas of Glenn and Camden County there. We're watching that line come through, it looks like a little earlier, like between 3 and 4 o'clock by the time we get to Jacksonville, and even holding together to the beaches. By the time we head into the weekend, yeah, that front's still a big player. You see the higher rain chances, Brunswick, Jacksonville, and some of the rain could come in by noon. It's not going to be an all-day rain, but we got to be ready for the most of the rain in this forecast as we go into late Friday afternoon and, again, Saturday by lunchtime. Jumbo shrimp, let's go. go. Game 3, winner take all. And again, the best chance of rain would be closer to the first pitch. I think before the first pitch. So just be careful getting downtown, and then we'll enjoy the sunset. The sunset could be beautiful. Could have a rainbow. Okay, we're going to have that little red glow in the sky. And we're going to enjoy one of the most beautiful ballparks you could ever be at. So get out into Power Alley and enjoy. And speaking of sports, we also have high school football tomorrow. Storms will be possible. We said the big front that's protecting us coming tomorrow. So a better chance of rain. I upped it to 60% you see there with those scattered showers and storms. And we'll be watching, the storms for sure. Maybe a couple lightning delays. And that will continue Saturday. More scattered showers and storms. Watching the tropics, of course. The weird tango going on in the Atlantic we don't see too often, okay? In fact, the last time we saw a tango like that was 2023 with Philippe and Rena. 7-day forecast, there it is. We got the heat, 94, and today we're going to be second on the all-time list for most 90-degree days, okay? It's going to be number 112. Friday will be number 113. The record's 114. I don't see any more 90-degree days, though, after that front. We have more mid to upper 80s with more of a north to northeast breeze keeping us closer to normal. So keep that in mind. Does look like we'll get a little bit of a break in the heat at least next week. And in the next 10 days, your most accurate forecast shows plenty of 80s as we go into not just the weekend and next week, but the following weekend. So hopefully that trend is our friend. But I really thank you for being with us. We got Chief Meteorologist Luke Turner coming in soon. Robert Speta, we got the dream team here. And, of course, we'll keep you updated on the tropics, keeping you and your family safe. That's what motivates me. So love you. Great to be with you. Have a great rest of your Thursday. And, of course, go Jumbo Shrimp.
This is a Tracking the Tropics update with a certified most accurate weather team at First Coast News.